So we started going over NaaqiS. May Allah reward you for your consistency and grant you the benefits that you seek. Ameen. NaaqiS is the lacking verb, like da'a and rama. What's it lacking? It's lacking a sound uh, letter at the end, or it's lacking a vowel at the end. We finished the mithal. I'm repeating the words here just to help it sink into your heart. Mithal like wasafa and yamuna. Here, the unstable letter is the first one. And we finish the ajwaf. Like qala and ba'a, meaning here the unstable letter is the middle one. All of these are cases of fi'lun mu'tal. If it's mu'talul fa', you call it mithal. Mu'talul ayn, yani al-mithal. Mu'talul ayn, you call it al-ajwaf. Mu'talul lam, you call it naqis. Then what's after that? We won't be done with the mu'tal, because after that we need to see combinations. What if the first one and the last one are unstable? Or what other combinations are there? Are there all possible combinations or some or what? We'll see. Yani, like I want to remind you. Remember when we went over fi'l al-madin and the mudari'? We said there's fa'ala, there's fa'ila, and there's fa'ula. And the mudari' is yaf'alu, and there's yaf'ilu, and there's yaf'ulu. In terms of possible combinations, there should be 9. 3 times 3 is 9. Yani fa'ala can go to this one, and this one. If fa'ila can go to this one, and this one. If fa'ula can go to this one, and this one. So we would have then 9 combinations in terms of mere possibility. But did it come in the Arabic language like that? No. There are actual heard combinations. If you remember, fa'ala yaf'alu, fa'ila yaf'ilu, fa'ula yaf'ulu, fa'ila yaf'alu, fa'ila yaf'ilu, no fa'ila yaf'ulu, fa'ula yaf'ulu, nothing more. Here we have mu'tal. Mu'talul fa, mu'talul ayn, mu'talul lam. Are there more? There, yani, we're going to see what's left, inshallah. first we need to finish getting through al-ajwaf here. I mean, an-naqis here. So the author said, الثالث المعتل اللام. Third kind of mu'tal is the one with the unstable lam. ويقال له الناقص. It's called lacking. وذو الأربعة. And it's called the one that has four letters. That's by comparing it to the ajwaf. The ajwaf is ذو الثلاثة, the one that has three letters. لكون ماضيه على أربعة أحرف إذا أخبرت عن نفسك. You would call it the one that has four letters, ذو الأربعة, for its past tense, having four letters when you speak about yourself. If you have a question about that, feel free. Then he started with the mujarrad. Yeah, because that's the origin. Before you start with extra letters, you need to start with no extra letters. And then you build on it. So he's going to always start with the mujarrad. So the mujarrad, فالمجرد تقلب الواو والياء منه ألفا. For the bare triliteral verb, you got to start with thulathi before you go to ruba'i, three letters before four letters. You want to start with mujarrad before you start with mazidun fihi, devoid of extra letters before you start with what has extra letters. تقلب الواو والياء منه ألفا. The waw and the ya in such a verb, this lacking verb, would be flipped into an alif. Now, there was something I didn't mention for you that goes here. تقلب الواو والياء منه ألفا. The waw and the ya in this NaaqiS verb are flipped into an alif. If the origin of the alif is a waw, we're talking about the end of the word here, then the alif will be a tall one. So when you see da'a, then you know that the origin of this alif is a waw. In script, if you see it in script, as for pronunciation, you wouldn't know. And Rama, if the origin of the alif is a ya, then it's going to be shaped like a ya. That's if it's mujarrad. So da'a, that's a maldwi. What's the mudari'? How do we know? Not only from the alif that's tall, you're going to know from the alif that's tall if you see it written. But what if you hear it? How are you going to know? Go through the sarf if you know it. What's the mudari' of da'a? Yad'u. There, the waw reappeared. And what's the masdar? Da'wa. The waw reappeared. How about rama? How do we know the alif here is originally a ya? By looking at the script, we can know. But if you just hear, how would you know? You won't know. So then you go through, not by mere hearing, so then you go through the sarf. Rama, what's the maudi, or what's the mudari' of Rama? Yarmi. There, the ya reappeared. And what's the masdar? Ram. Ramyan. The ya reappeared. Rama, yarmi, ramya. Da'a, yad'u, da'wa, da'watan. And we took last time that once it becomes mazidun fihi, then it's always going to be written with an alif that's shaped like a ya. So that we saw a'ta, and ishtara. So a'ta, the origin of that is a'tawa. أعطى. Then the wow flips into a ya because of falling forth or beyond. So it becomes أعطى ya. Then the ya flips into an alif and it becomes أعطى. For اشترى, it was in origin اشترى, because past tense verb. Past tense verb always ends with fatha. اشترى. Then the ya flipped into an alif, so it became اشترى. If you have any question, go ahead and ask, please.
نعم.
Yes.
On the أعطى, could you go back to that? So I was a little, because the it is mazid fi. In this one, it ends in that alif maksura in the first one, a'ta.
Yeah.
So when we were talking about just the mujarrad, when you had the alif maksura there, it
Mm-hmm.
ended. It was an indication. You said that its original letter is the ya.
Yes.
So in this, in the mazidu fi, what in the a'ta, how do we have a visual indicator? Because here you had is a'ta, and then it a'ta ya. So I'm that part. I was. That's not the same kind of rule that you're going by here for the mazidu fi.
Uh,
Is my question clear? I'm sorry.
well, let me say this and then you can follow up if you want to. So, yes, here, this is the rule for mujarrad. When okay, even before that, in this whole chapter, the wow and the alif, the wow and the ya flip into an alif. When it's a thulathi mujarrad, then if that alif, if its origin is a wow, it's going to be a tall alif. And if its origin is a ya, it's going to be alif ya'iyya, alif that's shaped like a ya. In anything else other than mujarrad, so mazidun fihi or ruba'i, mujarrad, for example, anything other than thulathi mujarrad, then it's always going to be written as the alif shaped like a ya at the end, whether the origin of that alif were a wow or a ya.
مفهوم ما شاء الله. بارك الله فيك. This
This
the
is for
other.
verbs here. This is for
No.
verbs and what comes from verbs. Not talking here like here. Um foreign names, not like foreign names. Well, I was about to write. I need to review. I think it's gonna come, so I don't say a mistake here. Not talking about names, nouns. I'm talking about verbs here and what comes from the verbs. What comes from the masdar.
No. So so two quick questions. So if we
Yeah.
want to know the origin of if we want to know the original letter for the mazidu fi, we could tell by the shekel of the shape of the last letter. And you didn't call it maksura, you called it
I said yeah, yeah.
nam, yeah. And okay, and
You won't be able to tell by the shape if it's anything other than thulathi mujarrad.
nam. So we have to refer back to the muster or refer back to
Then you're going
the.
to refer back to something.
Okay.
So there's different ways you can know what is the origin of the alif.
Okay.
by referring back to the mudari or referring back to the masdar or for example referring to jam'ul taksir or referring to a tasghir, different thing, or by applying a pronoun. There's
Okay.
different ways to discover the origin of the defective letter or unstable letter.
Okay. The in this one word, a'ta, what what the original letter is the yet, right? Or is
The
it
original letter is a wow.
a wow?
Yeah.
Okay.
The origin of al is al.
Okay.
Then the
Okay.
wow flips into a ya because of falling liwukuriha rabi'atan fasaridan, because of falling forth or beyond.
Okay.
That's the
MashaAllah.
rule they say. Liwukuriha rabi'atan fasarida.
Oh, MashaAllah. So the original is the Asli is the wow, and then you said it flips into a yeah.
Yeah, and this that it flips into a ya liwukuriha rabi'atan fasaridan, and then the ya flips into an alif y لتحركها وانفتاح ما قبلها.
MashaAllah. The last one, I think you answered it before, but why do they typically represent the mastar in the mansub form?
In the state of nasb, because if you look at it like if you say daraba, this verb, okay, no, let me not say it that way. What I was gonna say, uh, it's like formulating a sentence. Allah says, for example, uh, وَكَلَّمَ اللَّهُ مُوسَى تَكْلِيمًا. Okay. Here, why is, tell me if you know, why is takliman mansub?
Um, um, it is uh, it is emphasizing the I understood. Is it temyiz in this case?
No, it's
Te-
not tamyiz. But really,
um,
my question for you, what I mean to ask you is, what's making it mansub? What's affecting it? What's governing it?
كلام I'm not sure in this.
Kallama.
كلمة. Okay.
وَكَلَّمَ اللَّهُ مُوسَى تَكْلِيمًا. This is called مفعول مطلق.
Oh, no, no, no. No, that's right.
مفعول مطلق. So that's why, basically, because it's a maf'ul mutlaq. You're saying da yad'u da'watan. It's maf'ul mutlaq. Rama yarmi ramyan. Like kallama Allahu Musa takliman. That's what they're doing. They're making it a maf'ul mutlaq. If it's a maf'ul mutlaq, that means it's being governed by its own verb. The maf'ul mutlaq is the source noun that is the object of its own verb. They are making it the object of its own verb. So it's mansub when they do the sarf.
Barakallahu fi.
آمين وفي.
Yeah, I learned that about Teklima, but it didn't come to me at that moment. MashaAllah. Jazakumullah khairan.
آمين وإياكم. But how do we know that the origin of the wow, the origin of the alif in alta is a wow? Alta يعطي إعطاء فهو معطي وذاك معطى والأمر أعطي والنهي لا تعطي. So where's the wow? I don't remember where the wow is. How can we find the wow? Maybe we will find it together, inshallah. Okay, so he says فالمجرد تقلب الواو والياء منه ألفا. The bare triliteral verb, its wow or its yeah is flipped into an alif. إذا تحركتا وانفتح ما قبلهما. When that wow or yeah has a vowel and there's a fatha in front of it. كغزا ورمى وعصا ورحى. Like these four here. Two verbs and two nouns he gave us to display to us that it works for nouns too. This is a rule that transcends verbs. And we talked about the case of the tanween with the alif. In the case of the nouns, review that inshallah ta'ala. I won't repeat it for now unless I need to. وكذلك الفعل الزائد على الثلاثة كأعطى واشترى واستقصى. And likewise, the verb that has more than three. What? The wow or the ya is flipped into an alif. And he gave examples. أعطى, yani one extra letter. Ishtara, two extra letters. Istaqsa, three extra letters. You always want to know the significance of his examples. Why did he give these examples? Is he just randomly throwing examples? No, every example serves a purpose. Back up. This is how it goes for the scholars, if you want to understand their books. What? Yani each example they give should serve its own purpose. Unless he just wants to be emphatic for you, he doesn't have to give you examples that serve the same purpose. More than one example for the same purpose. Each one of these examples serves its own purpose. What's the purpose of ghaza? Why he gave that example? To give you an example of a verb that its original last letter is a wow. Why rama? To give you an example of a verb that its original last letter is a ya. Why asa? To give you an example of a noun that its original last letter is a wow. And why raha? To give you an example of a noun that its original last letter is a ya, meaning you have verbs and you have nouns. So this is the point of the examples here. He's not just throwing examples randomly. Not to mention, he's going to also stick to standard examples too. That's why we always say Zaid, standard example for the male name, Hind for the female name, and Daraba, standard examples, typical examples. Why did he give these examples here when he said also what has more than three letters? So he can give you an example of what has one extra letter, what has two extra letters, what has three extra letters. Otherwise, if he just wants to give you an example of what has its origin is a wow or its origin is a yeah, he could just give you two examples. He can just say ata and ishtara. And they have an example of what its original last letter is a wow and an example of what its original last letter is a yeah. So why mention istaqsa? He already gave you an example of what its original last letter is a wow. So why do it again? Because now it's not for the sake of that, rather for the sake of giving you an example of what has three extra letters. Okay. If you have a question, go ahead, please. So now we're picking up from where we left off. He says, واسم المفعول منه كالمعطى والمشترى والمستقصى. And, yani same rule still. The alif, the wow or the ya, that's the last letter, is going to flip into an alif. In the case of ismul maf'ul, the name of the receiver. He didn't go to the name of the doer though. So what cases did he give us? He gave us fi'lun madin mujarrad, thulathi mujarrad. Merely three letters with no extra letters. Then he gave us thulathi mazidun fihi. What has more than three letters? Same rule. Then usually you're going to mention ismul fa'il before you mention ismul maf'ul, the name of the doer before the name of the receiver. He didn't mention the name of the doer here. He went right to the name of the receiver. Because the name of the doer, that last letter is not going to be an alif. So he didn't mention it here. But the name of the receiver, the last letter is going to be an alif, so he brought that one here. Kal-mu'ta, like al-mu'ta, the given. Al-mu'ta is the given. What is given? Or it's the giving with the meaning of what's given. A giving with the meaning of what's given. Not the act of giving here, rather the thing that's given. Mu'ta. Wal mushtara, the purchased. The receiver. The purchased. What was purchased. Wal mustaqsa. I'm not sure how to translate that. Why that's ending in an alif? Because let's review the case of the name of the doer and the name of the receiver. Ismul fa'il wasmul maf'ul. Let's start with what has all sound letters. And let's start with our standard example. Daraba. He struck. Yadribu. He strikes. Darban. A striking. He strikes a striking. That's why it's mansub, Sayyidi. It's maf'ul mutlaq. It's as if he's saying, ya daraba darban or yadribu darban. So it's as if it's like a sentence.
Barakallahu feek.
Amin wa fiq. فهو ضارب. He is therefore a striker. Yeah, and notice, like we mentioned too, when they go through it, they add there. فهو, so it's like it's a sentence. ضرب يضرب ضربا فهو ضارب. وذاك, that's what they add there. مضروب, and that is struck. Okay, we don't have to go further now. ضرب يضرب ضربا فهو ضارب وذاك مضروب. Okay. What if it has more than three letters? Like ضرب. ضرب يضارب مضاربة. فهو مضارب وذاك مضارب. فهو مضارب with the kasra before the last letter. وذاك مضارب with the fatha before the last letter. So here's the rule. Whenever you have more than 3 letters in the past tense, looks like maybe that's something the Kufis might use for their arguments. We keep going back to the past tense to determine many things. So it must be the source. I don't know, though. I don't remember that I learned that. I'm just trying to put pieces together as I'm reviewing with you. So the rule is mudarib. The rule is when you have more than 3 letters, then the name of the doer has a kasra before the last letter, and the name of the receiver has a fatha before the last letter. So let's look at a case of NaaqiS. أعطى 4 letters, yani 1 extra letter. The origin is أعطى wa يعطي. إعطاء. That's the masdar. فهو معط. يعني there's a ya there. معطي. فهو معطي, but the ya gets removed. Originally there's a ya there. Gets removed. We talked about that before. If you don't remember why, then another time. فهو معط وذاك معطى. معطى. Why this is and this the name of the doer is ending with an alif here? Because the letter before the last letter is gonna have a fatha anyway. لتحركها وانفتاح ما قبلها. When it has a vowel and there's a fatha before it, flips into an alif. طيب. If you have any question, go ahead, please. So that's why the ism maf'ul has the same rule. And that last letter is going to be an alif. كالمعطى والمشترى والمستقصى. And what you need is exercises. Now I'm just reading the book to you and explaining to you. And I don't even have an exercise booklet to give you here. If you have one, then do it. وكذا إذا لم يسمى الفاعل من المضارع. And likewise, when the doer is unnamed for the mudari', present or future tense. When the doer is unnamed, meaning passive voice. Likewise, passive voice for when the doer is unnamed, for the mudari', passive voice for the mudari'. كقولك, like for you to say, يعطى. It is given, or he is given, is given. ويشترى. It is purchased. ويغزى. It is invaded, or yeah, he or it is invaded. يغزى. ويرمى, and it is thrown, tossed. Why that's ending in an alif? For the same reason. Yani, here. Here's our standard example. Daraba, past tense. Yadribu is the present or future tense. But if we configure it so that the doer is unnamed, then for the past tense, we'd say duriba. He was struck. Who struck him? It's not named here. Duriba, he was struck. And then what? Yudrabu. The letter before the last letter has a fatha. That's consistent rule. Letter, when it's mabni lil maf'ul, passive voice. Mudari', the letter before the last letter has a fatha. So then, in the chapter of NaaqiS, that's going to result in that last letter being an alif. Because that last letter is going to have a vowel on it, and then the letter before it has a fatha. So, لِتَحَرُّكِهَا وَانْفِتَاحِ مَا قَبْلَهَا. If you are studying well, this word should be in your memory by now. لِتَحَرُّكِهَا وَانْفِتَاحِ مَا قَبْلَهَا. But you don't have a lot of exercises, maybe. So then that's going to be a reason why this is not in your memory. Any question there? I think we should stop there. So we can start this next paragraph from the top, inshallah, fresh. Any last question?